Hello and welcome to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Burbos. Round 4 is done and dusted, and I feel like SuperCoach, all the hype in the preseason is built up for us to have sub-30 scores every week, being stoked that we're getting 1,000 points, and we're choosing all these high upside players for absolutely no reason at all for just some mediocre podcaster to be in the top K and you're ranked in 70,000th. I'm joined here by a fellow 70,000th member, Timmy Moody. How are you?
Yeah, first of all, my apologies to all the listeners who are not ranked in the top 1,000 like Savs, having a bit of a whinge about low scoring. So I think we're the ones that can feel the pain. You can just sit there and relax. But yeah, look, I've moved myself out of top 70,000 up to 29,000. So we're on the fly, mate. We're exactly where we want to be.
I've got to be honest, that came out a lot harsher than I expected it to. I needed.
That's all right, mate. When you get a little bit up the top and you're sniffing around, the top 1,000, sometimes people get a big head on them. But you just got to remember who you're talking to, bro.
I've burnt through quite a few trades, so I feel like
it's getting a bit chaotic. I think you're in a good space, and I think
I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, you are. You're in a good spot, but I think there's two ways you can go from here, and the way you're leaning is, I think, it is a self-destructive path. Honestly, I just do it. We can get to that later, but I think if you stay the course, you can make something special of it.
Oh, for sure. So I guess, as Timmy said, I'm ranked. I actually went up ranks. I wasn't expecting that. 1,045 was my score for the week. Captain Tommy. I was saying in a lot of chats all week, I wasn't quite feeling Tommy as a captain option, but it just, everything added up. It's just, there was something about it that I just wasn't sure about, but obviously didn't have the balls to pull the trigger elsewhere. I was probably only going to go Sean Johnson or Latrell Mitchell, which only would have got me 15 more points.
Yeah.
So that it's not that disappointing in that regard, but at the same time, FOMO is such a thing that gets you in SuperCoach.
Oh, it is. It's a really big thing. It's a massive thing.
And I think when you're listening to all these podcasts and seeing all these things online with this person is just going to go bonkers, just don't read into it if you're not feeling it yourself.
You hear everyone's bringing in this person. If it's for good reason and you maybe should be looking at bringing them in too, have a close look at it and maybe bring them in. But a lot of the times people bringing in a player that you don't need to bring that in. You've got bigger problems or you're good in that position and everything's working for you. So you end up selling a guy you don't need to. So it's all relevant to your team. So yeah, I think that's where the FOMO comes into it. Sort of, they're doing that. I want a bit of that too. So
I guess it's kind of like the Kalen Ponga earlier in the year. Like everyone didn't want to start without him because of how he ended the year last year. A bit of I reckon there's a bit of Nico Hines about it, like holding on to Nico Hines for so long, just because he's done it for so long. The FOMO of missing that big score is a thing. So, but actually looking at the games and seeing how he's played in the first 3 weeks, without the credentials, you could probably sell someone like Nico Hines. But because of the history, we got rewarded with that 94 score on the weekend. And I believe that will come again for him. So there's also a bit of a balancing act with that FOMO and how it can and cannot burn you. How'd you go on the weekend? Exactly
1,065. So it's the first week that I've put some points on you. I'm really catching you now, bro. Yeah, well, not too shabby. There was I was a really bad start to the week. At one point after a couple of the games, things had gone really bad, and my projection went from about 1,050 or something to about 880. I know you can't always rely on that, but everyone else's projections were still around that spot, and that's when I had. Dom Young early, was one that, was a low score on the board. But I'm trying to identify what particular day it was where everything just went wrong. Oh, yeah, so maybe it was the Manly game, because having Brooks, Burbo,
Turbo as captain.
Yeah, and I had 4 players in that game all going under 50. But then, yeah, I was very lucky. Having Errol there, was able to play him. it turned out a lot better than I expected. I was thinking maybe he might have a good game on
60?
Yeah, good 60 or something like that, and that was lovely to take that. And Ponga was really helpful as well. So, yeah, Appy Coruscant, would have liked him to have gone a lot closer to a, like a 70 than
Another attacking start.
Yeah, but look, I think he's going to have that game occasionally where it doesn't come for him. He did go sniffing a little bit. He did have a little go from dummy half that I think the person he was targeting, they weren't aware, but it was one of the forwards that I think it was RCG that came over the top or something and just sort of, if he wasn't aware if he was going to do it, he would have scored, I think. But yeah, just nervous about probably about 3-4 week period I'm not going to have Harry.
Speaking to you, Mark, please.
3-4 week period I'm not going to have Harry. That makes me a bit nervous because I reckon there's going to be 2 tons in that period just because they haven't come yet.
I feel like Harry's a really good purchase.
I'm just glad Nelson's not back.
Because that'd make it like more of a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Speaking of Harry, a lot of people sold him to someone like Joey Lussick. Pumps out 230s in a row. Now has a 58 break even. And now Danny Levi is 340K with a -2 break even. I think I didn't expect this to happen, but I knew it could with someone like Levi who was so cheap.
Yeah.
But this is kind of why a lot of us kind of advise against going Levi to Lussick.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I've got Levi and I told you. I honestly didn't think he was going to have much in him. I thought he was a 20-point player at best and he needed to score a try to get to 40. That 65 was excellent. I only pretty much held him because I didn't think the trade in the end from him to Lussick was worth it.
Yeah.
I wasn't holding him because I thought he was a good thing and I'm just, that's a lucky thing I'll take.
Lussick has made 104K. Levi has now made upwards of 107. So it just proves that these massive negative break-evens aren't the be-all and end-all. But don't get me wrong, I feel like I didn't advise against it. I thought it was a decent trade, but it wasn't for me. So I feel like I got lucky.
I was close to doing it.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I got lucky because I saw a more likely world where Levi got 22s every week. So it's kind of lucky how it's played out for us. But I guess the reason we both probably didn't prioritize it is because we know this can happen. So I think at the end of the day, and I feel sorry for the people that did go to Lussick because he looked like someone who could be playable every week. 37 points on the weekend.
Just with hands lurking on the bench after like this week, it's a little bit annoying. Like why now? Why did they?
I actually think in NRL, Lussick has not been as good in the last 2 weeks. I think he's overplayed his hand a little bit. Like I thought in the first 2 weeks, he picked his moments beautifully.
Might have been getting confident, which is fair.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Maybe he'll find the balance soon, and I'd probably just stick with him, to be honest, unless you can go to a Harry or you can go to an Appy sooner rather than later. But I wouldn't be rushing to get him out, really. Like I don't think he's an issue in the side. It's just
as long as you've got one of the gun, Harry, Appy, or even Robson, you're sweet.
Yeah. Now, I think that just proves to us that these guys with the massive negative break-even, sometimes you can pass on them.
Because JMK at this point too, probably.
Yeah, exactly. This week, the biggest traded-in player is Blaze Talangi. He's the biggest hot topic of the week. We'll get on that shortly, but today we'll go over the most traded in and most traded out. We'll argue whether we think they are trade-ins and trade-outs. We'll go over team lists. We're doing a new segment. Instead of bold predictions, we're doing over and under. Bit of rift in the camp because of that one, but we will touch on that, and then we'll go over the captain options. So, speaking of Blaze Talangi, the most traded in player this week, we did just say the big break evens, don't let it get you sucked in, but I think a big break even with a player that looks good with a couple of weeks job security in a position where we can easily downgrade. There's a lot to like about Blaze Talangi.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad because he's in centre wing, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be a headache if we had to try to squeeze him into the halves. We could probably still do it, but, yeah, it's just such a good thing. He's got that spot for a while. The only slight little bit of a stress is if maybe he has a bad game or two, maybe Dejan Arce comes in, or if Dejan Arce just, banging the door down in New South Wales Cup, maybe they switch it up. But from the eye test, he looked pretty good. I mean, Galvin got the best of him in that moment where Galvin sort of pushed him off and had that try assist. But that's not enough to drop him, I don't think, or anything like that. So he's obviously got another run this week. So I think he's pretty safe. And if he's not, it's deal with that later. But if he does keep that spot, he's probably going to jump that much in cash that it feels like one of those Buller moments. You know what I mean? It's not probably as much of a cash gen as Buller, but
maybe not because he quite hasn't had the big score.
Probably doesn't have the tons in him.
I think he does. Every time he touches a ball, I said this on the wrap-up yesterday with Jake, which was only last night. It's crazy how a long week of footy makes a week go so quickly.
It feels like a long week.
Yeah, Thursday to Monday, long week of footy. I love it. But every time he had the ball, I thought it was Dylan Brown. I got excited because I got Dylan Brown. He made a line break and just looked exactly like Dylan Brown. Probably looked a bit quicker, just a little bit quicker. But he looked way more natural in that position than Dijon Arcee has looked in the past. So I really like Talangi. I think he can be a play most weeks. I'm probably not playing in this week versus Canberra, but I think if you have to play him,
I probably
it's
will
not
be.
the
I
worst
haven't
thing
really
in the world.
looked at my depth, but I think that I will be.
Yeah, but the eye test with him looks good, and I think that's the first test for me. It's the first and the last test. The first test, do they look good? The second test is, do their numbers add up? Is the break even good? Are they a good price? And then the last test,
job security and all that sort of stuff.
Job security, yeah. And then the last test again is like, okay, does he look good? Do I actually want to get him in? Is he going to keep this up? And I think he ticks all them boxes. He might not be in for an extended period of time, but I feel like he might push his way into the side somehow. When Moses returns.
Moses is out for long enough still, isn't he?
8 weeks. So
that's all we need.
Yeah, exactly. For a cheapie, for sure. He'll definitely max out by that time. Number 2 is Kai Pearce-Paul, 441K, has made 96K over the last 2 weeks with consecutive 65s. He has a break-even of -2. We started the preseason with all these mid-ranges around this price. So I don't think paying this amount for Kai Pearce-Paul is ridiculous. I just think he was a steal at 340. In my opinion, he's a 640K player.
Yeah, I won't put a price, and can't work it out too. But I guess if I don't know how it exactly works out, but if he's averaging 65, then he should probably go to about that price.
That's pretty much where I'm going.
The way it works, yeah.
I think it's like $850 per point or something.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I like him, man. I thought he might be more of a 40-point player and then relying on upside. But for him to get that 65 last week without any major attacking stats, there's definitely some big ones coming. And, yeah, really like him as a play.
I think the thing about him is with a field of second-row forwards that are pretty hard to come by at the moment, I feel like nobody is locked into their first 3.
He's one I feel excited about.
Yeah.
Like when you look at all the other forwards, you're like, don't feel like, he's Laney going to cross today. I don't think so. All the other ones you've got there, don't think you're going to score. Unless you've got like an Olakawatu or a top dollar guy up there. But yeah, he's someone I'd be looking forward to run out each week.
For sure. With these first 2 players, they are the most traded in, but is there any negatives against them that you feel like we can talk about?
Blaze Talangi, I don't think there's enough negative. Yeah, there is, but we'd be just cheaper jabbering.
The price, yeah. Kai Pearce-Paul, 80-minute edge back rower at the price, negative break even. You're not going to lose much, to be honest.
The only negative there, and it's not even that big of a negative, is just Dylan Lucas. Because he does seem like he's a good option as well.
Yep.
But that'd mean that Kai Pearce-Paul's having a really bad game a couple weeks in a row, I think, for them to drop him. And it doesn't look like they want to share. He does look locked into an 80-minute. He doesn't need to be spelled. He doesn't even look tired out there.
Yep. Justin Olam is 3rd on the lists. I talked about him yesterday, and I actually thought I was... when I brought him up, I thought I was a bit of a genius for spotting it. But 423K, -40 break even. He's looked better in a Tigers jersey. He is underpriced on his best kind of years, but Justin Olam, I don't know if I could do it. He's averaging 82. He's got 84 and 81 in consecutive weeks. He got a double on the weekend. He's got a try in his first week. I mean, he's going to make money, and he's got the Dolphins and the Dragons in the next 2 weeks. So is he a playable option for a cheap price?
Yeah, he's playable. I think that, that's probably that seems like his big game, that 81. I don't think you can get too much more than that. But if that price, if you're going to get, 60s out of him, you'd be happy. I think, I don't know. They do seem to look like they're targeting, like they seem like he's their attacking thing close to the line. Let's hit him for a ball and just let him be ruthless. But I don't know. I think he's got too many mistakes. He's also got those wild shots that he puts on that seem like, any one of them could potentially go wrong and he could kill a bloke and he'll be on the sideline for 8 weeks.
Past 4 seasons, averages of 41 last season, and then he goes 51 and 55 in the seasons prior. In 2020, he averaged 45. So, I mean, his best year for Melbourne, he averaged 55. Still a bit of value there, but yeah, I just feel like he's someone who's going to be heavily traded in this week, and where they're going to probably look at trading him out in a couple of weeks when the tries do dry up. The Hammer is at number 4, gets his second ton of his career, and we pretty much spoke about him not having the ceiling last week, which I'm pretty happy to stick by, but I think as players develop and get more mature, they add things to their game. I think looks like he's added the ball playing, which I feel like he will get more tons in the future. I feel like he will get 1 or 2 more tons this year. He will be consistent. He's a great player. I love the Hammer. Would you purchase him at $690K?
No, I reckon if you were going to purchase him, you would have done it last week. If you're prepared to let it go, I mean, you would have seen what you already needed to see the weeks prior. You know what I mean? He had big games the week prior, scored well. He had the Titans last week. That was the week to really bring it in and take the most advantage of that game. So, I mean, it's not to say he can't go bigger than that, but that's probably the easiest matchup. 112. He had the 2 try assists and a try. Most other gun fullbacks, like a Tommy or, a Teddy or anyone like that has those 2 tries, 2 tries, 1 try, probably closer to 150. It's not a reason to not get him, because I still reckon, I say last week, he's probably like a good for 70 most weeks, you know what I mean? Like the occasional 40 when he doesn't have the attacking stat, but good for 70. But I'm just a bit greedier, man. Like I chase that. I want 150 potential. There's some players that, bloody oath, I'll take that 70. Like maybe you could look at him and say, he's kind of like for a second row. I could be way off here, but you could compare him to say like a Isaiah Yeo in your second row. When you've got all those, you might play him for a safe 70 every single week as a Yeo, but you think more often than not he probably won't go 100 unless it's an real easier game. Whereas if you go for some of those like Kawatus, those Katoas, they can get the tons. Same as like Hammer. So I think that some of the other players that are around that sort of 700, 600K price have probably got bigger tons in them.
I actually think you're off the mark with expecting 70s from Hamiso every week.
Much?
I think every time you predict things, you over-predict way too much. Like, these players aren't going to score 70 every week. I'm stoked if my centre wing scores 70.
I think he'll average 70. That's when I'm sort of saying.
And like averaging 70 means you'll get a couple of 90s, a couple of 40s.
Which is basically 70 every week as an average. That's what I'm sure to say.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's fair in saying that.
Yeah.
But like week to week, I expect 40s with a few 80s and 90s. I would expect from him. But with a second rower like Isaiah Yeo, 70 every week you can set and forget. But with the second row, it's a different position. The ceiling isn't 150. Whereas in the centre wing with Hamiso, I like your thought process, because someone like Valentine Holmes, because he has that 150 ceiling and his floor isn't that low, that's why his average is always so high up every season, whereas Hammer's floor is a bit lower and his ceiling's a bit lower as well. So I agree with you in the fact that I like these players that have the big ceilings, especially when their floor is a bit higher. When their floor is a bit lower, it's still okay. But with him, they're too close together, in my opinion.
I would definitely have probably picked him up if I haven't already had stacked my centre wing. So I've got Val Holmes, Lomax, Dom Young, Tuivasa Sheck, Taylor May. So those are like at least 4 of them are elite.
Yep.
So yeah, I just had to go one way or the other. And I don't make it clear. I don't think Hammer's a shit option. I think
Oh, 100%. I'm not trying to talk people out of him either. I think he's a great trade in, just not for me. Like, my centre wing's pretty stacked at the moment as well. And I don't know. I just feel like for my side, I've already got Holmes. I've got Tuivasa Sheck, Taylor May. I'm getting in another premium centre wing this week. I can't quite afford him, but if I could, I would go someone else. And we'll talk about that very shortly. Ryan Papenhuyzen is there at number 5, so we'll fly through 5 to 10 because they all kind of bracket in the same bracket. I'll get back to Ryan Papenhuyzen. Lachlan Galvin is number 6. He'd be a great purchase this week if you didn't get on him last week. 311k, still massive negative break even, but it looks like he's gone for 2 weeks. It
might sound weird, but I could still consider buying him this week. If you were like wanting to get rid of Dylan Brown that much, or Brooks more so, for people who started with Brooks, his
high
jaw's
break
getting
even,
and the jaw's a bit tough. You could just run Strange for a couple of weeks. It's a bit awkward. In 5'8", but then you've downgraded to fund other things. You've already done that, and then you can make those other trades later on because he's coming back in 2 weeks. Yeah,
I like it, and to be fair, he's a playable option. I think as long as you can cover it for the next couple of weeks, I don't hate it if it allows you to do other trades. Jack Bostock, 400k, although Blaise Talangi is on the horizon this week, so I think you can probably pass on Galvin if Blaise Talangi is an option, unless you're going double cheapies to set yourself up for next week.
Sometimes it's more about not who you want to buy, it's more about who you want to sell.
Yep.
So you might be like, I've really got to sell this guy, so if you feel like you need to sell someone.
Yeah, I think you're right in that regards, especially regarding Brooks. Jack Bostock, come out last week, got a double, negative 41 break even, so he's going to make a shitload of cash. If he scores another 60 points, he'll get 90k. Plays the Tigers this week. The Tigers are no easy beats. We've seen that. They've got a different style of play, but I don't know. Do you see any love there?
Yeah, I kind of like him as an option again this week. I think he'll score well potentially. It's not a guarantee. I just think against Charlie Staines running, it's a bit of a mismatch. He's a big boy. He's got the height to get over him. He's also shown he's got some strength. He sort of boosted his way over the line as well. So, it's an awkward price to buy him at because you're probably going to only make X amount more off him. He maybe goes up maybe 5 to 550, 600.
Yep.
Max.
Yeah.
And you probably might need to sell him once he peaks in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who starts at bottom dollar and then you wait for these weeks for him to cash out as soon as he peaks.
I sold him. I started with him. Sold him after round 1. Sometimes it's like you're just struggling to work out who to sell when you want to buy someone. I really wanted to buy Lomax, so he was the guy that had to go for me. But
he was an awkward one because of the price as well.
Yeah. I think that you could kind of avoid not buying him too.
Yep.
Just because of the same factor, Blaise Talangi, if you need a centre winger.
Yep.
Why not get the 200k guy rather than the 400k guy?
And have a look at how Joey Lussick worked out. The negative break even is all attractive and everything, but you might not end up making that much.
Game or two of just a couple of 30s in the row just stunts him.
Jackson Ford, number 8, traded in. He's been on fire. He's averaging well above 60. He was averaging 65 last week. He's now averaging 79. No, 74. He is 640k.
Yeah.
Probably a bit more expensive, but what I was saying on the wrap-up podcast last night is that I like that he's kept that left edge back row spot over Kurt Capewell.
Yep.
Kurt Capewell has notoriously played back row in his career. He's come over to the club as a veteran. Usually these veterans get their preferred spots and people work around them, but he's kept that spot, even over all these guys like Niokore, all these other left edge potential back rowers, and he's kept that spot. He looks better this year than he did last year, and I think he's a pretty good option, but to be honest, just something tells me he's not going to hurt not having.
If you're looking to spend 650K in the second row,
I know
be
who
going
you're gonna
straight over
say.
him and bringing in Eli Katoa instead.
I 100% agree.
Also, Ola Kawatu, but he does have a tough matchup this week.
Yep.
So you kind of go, oh, maybe I get Katoa this week, and hopefully in a couple of weeks I might be able to upgrade one of these other second rowers to Ola Kawatu as well. But I'd bring in Katoa way ahead of Ford.
And Sean Johnson is the number 10 traded in at 1,200 traded in. I actually traded him in last week for Cleary. And
I think it's a weird trade in this week. I don't mind it last week.
It's a weird trade in this week. I don't love the matchup versus the Rabbitohs, but I also think with AJ out and Isaac Thompson in on that edge, on the left edge, that suits him and Dallin Watini-Zelezniak.
Yeah.
Jack Whiten is very good on that edge defensively, though, so he could just shut it down before it even gets out there.
The only reason I find it weird is I just feel like we're going to want to be getting back to Nathan and Cleary real soon, and that's just a couple of weeks away.
I think SJ is a good trade-in. I do like Hughes, Walker.
Like, are you thinking as 2 week plays, or are you thinking as going against one?
No, they're all 2 week plays, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty happy to hold on to SJ just for a bit and just wait for Cleary's return. Like, I don't think the first game... I'm not going to rush to get him the first game back. I'll just see how he goes, see how he pulls up. So we'll get back to Ryan Papenhuyzen because I've got a topic on that. But Taylor May's the most traded out centre wing. There's also Tuapiki, Trebojevic of the Ben kind, Luke Metcalf, Piakura, Hosking, Salmon, Laybut, Sam Hughes, Nathan Cleary. I think they all speak for themselves, but I want to touch on Taylor May. Do you think Taylor May should be the number one traded out player this week? I understand that...
Not the number one.
Like, no. I understand compared to all these other options, he's much more pricey, so it's easier to go up to a gun that you want in your side. So if it allows you to go to a gun, I don't hate it, but I also think he's still underpriced for what he can produce for the season.
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one just because, like, sometimes I think you just got to go, all right, yeah, he looked great in that first game. He's looked good in NRL. Like, he holds his own. He's tough and he's good in defence. And when he gets a run, it's pretty. He takes good runs, but it just the attack's been going all right. That may change a bit, but my idea was that if it was going to change, it would have changed last week with Cleary being out, Jerome on the left where May is. More ball for those two. Didn't really happen, so I don't mind it as a sell. I don't think it would be a sell that it'll come back to haunt you, that bad. He's probably still got money to make potentially there. Like, it could be like me, like he's what, 450, 470-ish. I sold Bostock at 300. That's only 100 and something, a little bit more. All it takes is Taylor May to have that 100 game.
Exactly.
And he's going to have a 100 game. It's just how patient you got to be for it.
He hasn't scored a try yet, so
yeah,
I think that pretty much just sums up.
He's not a must-have. He's not a must-hold. I really think it's one of those ones where make your mind up on it. I really think it won't really hurt you too much either way.
And you know what? The game plan pretty much suggested that they were going down the right side. Taruva got all the ball. Brian Toto got a cold out there as well. So when the game plan suits, like, I don't know if they're planning on targeting Cooler's edge or Garrick's edge this week, but Penrith have a plan and they could completely flip and go the left side this week, and Luai could absolutely take over, give May early ball. So I'm happy to hold on for 1 week more, and then they have the bye the following week, so I'm happy to reassess then. And that pretty much wraps us up with the sells, but I want to get to that topic of Ryan Papenhuyzen being the 5th most traded in player, and it's not necessarily Ryan Papenhuyzen that I want to talk about. It's the fullback roulette. So I am massive on the fullback roulette and changing your fullbacks based on matchups, because I think with this hot field of fullbacks going around at the moment, you don't want to miss out on that massive one, and I feel like early on there hasn't been that massive one. So we haven't really had to do it this early. I know I tried to. It kind of worked against me. But I feel like in the next couple of weeks, having the right guys is going to be crucial leading into teams' easier matchups. James Tedesco is currently the number 1 scoring fullback. But Tommy Trbojevic is one of the most owned fullbacks. I'll just get up the exact stats right now. So Tom Trbojevic is... Where is he? So Pappenhausen is 26% owned. It's weird. Jacob Gagai is the second most owned fullback, but he's in centre wing. I've just got to find Tommy Turbo. So he's at 22.7%. James Tedesco is 17.3%. Latrell Mitchell is 10%, and Scott Drinkwater is 7.9%, and we've also got Kalen Ponga at 23.5%. There's all these other options that are available in centre wing as well, but I won't count them in there. I think this week is a big moving week, and I think we've got to nail our options over the next 2 weeks. Tom Trbojevic has the Penrith Panthers and the Warriors over the next 2 weeks. I'm not necessarily worried about the Warriors, but with a big break even, 777K. He's got
an 87 break even. It's not 150.
Yeah, 87 break even, but I could really see him getting a 40 and going down to 7.
I think too. I'm just on trying to battle with how patient and how much more of a long game you got to play. Like it's round 5, you know. You make 2 trades in fullback already. There, you've sold Cleary when you could have held him for a couple of weeks. Like this is where I'm just sort of was hinting at in the opener. I think he might be a little bit self-sabotaging just to sort of stay up there or try I've got to get bigger.
Yeah, I know.
But you're playing your own game, and that I respect that. But I reckon if you found just a little bit of balance along the way, just a tiny bit more, it could do you a lot of favours.
I agree.
Because the back end of it, that's when. Think about last year when the moves that could be made.
But with Tom Trbojevic, right?
Yeah.
And I'll speak on my tactics very shortly. So, because this is what I'm leading into. He's got Penrith and the Warriors over the next 2 weeks. And then he has Gold Coast, Parramatta, Canberra, Dolphins. And then he goes Broncos, Melbourne, Penrith. So, maybe if you don't sell him at all, you probably will want to sell him by around 11 anyway. But you do want him for that 4-week
close
period.
Enough to Origin.
Yeah.
When you're getting close to that Origin period, each week you're sort of starting to offload one by about week 10,
for sure,
week 11. So that just may be the right timing for him.
It will be. And Latrell Mitchell has a buy in round 7, so someone like him will be wanting to trade out. But if you want to take advantage of this fullback roulette, the next 2 weeks, Gold Coast Titans, Parramatta, Scott Drinkwater. I think he looks about to explode against Parramatta. The last 3 times he scored over 115 each time in the last 3 occasions. Gold Coast at home during the day next Sunday. Very tempting. And it lines up as a 2-week play going back to Tommy. And I know it's yuck. And for someone like myself who's
I don't know that it's yuck. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, so I know someone like myself who's burned through trades, maybe it's not the smartest thing for me to do, but I think if someone is looking to do that, it's a good option.
Yeah, like if you want to sort of even in your position, just sort of crack the whip and just try get that 200 jump on the average bear and sort of pomple yourself into maybe the top 100, the top 50, and then you're like, all right, this is getting serious now, and every decision I start making needs to be almost perfect. You need to pull it back a bit. I get trying to get yourself into that position, but yeah, I think that you say, "Oh, I'll pull up a bit now," and then it's just every week you find this new attacking play to make. I think you need to just pick the right guys. Know that some weeks you're gonna have to take a hit. Maybe you take a little bit of that rule. Like maybe if a guy's got a 3 or 4 week run where it's like, geez, I couldn't hold him for that 4 games, while this guy's got that 4 games. But realistically, it's like Tommy's got one tough game against Penrith this week. The Wars, Ponga scored 100 plus without scoring a try or a try assist against them. So there's points to be had against them. It's a 1 week hit. Like when I hear of you doing it, it makes me like, oh, this is how hard it's going to be to catch. But then it's kind of like you just got to stick to your own game plans too. Sometimes, you know what I mean. And that's one of these FOMO things where, although I know in my heart of hearts that Drinkwater's definitely going to get a ton this week. Like I'd bet everything on it. I'd bet everything on it. You know what I mean? But yeah. And Turbo, I'd be very confident under 60 and feel like more than a 40. But is it worth a trade? It probably could be. I don't know. I don't know.
The other plays Ponga. St. George, Roosters, Bulldogs, Dolphins, New Zealand, Tigers, Gold Coast, Bulldogs, till round 13. So he's someone, they got to buy in round 12 as well. So he's someone who has a good draw as well, but I think because the field is so hot and they're all doing so well, you're going to miss out on one or two of them. And that's okay, because if your other one counteracts it, if someone goes big one week, you're going to do well the next week. And that's
So
kind
just talk me through it. Like when you're buying Tommy now, because he's going to, if you sell Tommy to Drinky, you got to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Drinky's probably going to not lose too much cash, you'd hope, in that 2-week period.
He's just come off a ton and a 72.
So would you be able to do it like in one trade and one trade, or are you like going to have to make a second trade to help you fund that? Like, is it actually costing you 4 trades?
No, I can do it in one trade.
Okay.
Because I sold.
And then bring him back for another trade, which is 2, rather than, sometimes you've got to sell a second player to fund it.
I think so. I would strongly advise against what I'm doing, because the first I've boosted every week. The
Have
first,
ya?
yep.
What do you mean? How many you got left? Like one?
I've got 2 boosts
Two
left, and I'm boosting again this week.
So how many trades do you have left before trading?
I've used 9 trades, using 12 this week. But I just want to preface this with, I used all my boosts before round 10 last year, and I only ran out of trades with, I think, like 3 or 4 rounds to go. I went through this block that I was very happy with my side between round 10 to 12, where I made no trades at all. And that's my plan. I
remember you making 2 weeks in a row no trades, so I remember you doing that.
If I can do that again this year and hopefully make it one more week.
But do you reckon that's all enough you need?
Oh, yeah. If I had 2 more trades at the end of last year, I wouldn't have fallen off as much as I did. It's just because I had 1 trade left for just an emergency at the end of the year. Yeah. I was so scared to use that, and I would have used that. It would have helped me get someone like Cooler, Olakuatu.
I was trying to do the math in my head today while buying a Boost juice. Shout out to Boost if you want to sponsor. Looking at that, I was like, 22 rounds left, like 22, 39, what about 22, and then I'm like, plus I get I'm going to boost. You get those free boosts you get. So and then I couldn't. My maths isn't good enough for that. Yeah. They're not going out the window. So I need to sit down and work out really where I'm at with that.
So 23 rounds left. How many trades?
22, 23.
So it was 27 rounds.
Yep.
So 27 rounds. I don't know how it works out actually. I have 34 trades left.
Before trading?
No, after.
No, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean,
it's max traded, but yes, it's not that bad.
But my thought process is, I did it last year, and I think getting your team right is fine, because if you get your team right before anyone else, you're in a position where they're trying to catch up for the rest of the year, and the back end of the year is the next kind of. Obviously, there's the buys. If you can get through the buys,
the shift in sides after the buys, where we all start going different directions.
Yep. Yeah. So if you can get through the buys, okay, with enough trades, it's kind of like the NRL teams. They make sure they bank wins early through the Origin period. They drop a couple.
Are you boosting this week?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so you're going to have no boost left or 1 boost?
I'm probably not going to boost next week.
But that's okay. So
I've got 1 boost left after this. I would, because like I boosted to get Taumalolo out.
Boost juice. We've said like there was a bit of a what do you call it? A bit of a segue there. We should get them to just be a perfect sponsor. Hey, like Boost.
I'll reach out. But speaking of
just Shark Tank, the lady came from Shark Tank. Or something.
Speaking of sponsors, how'd you go on the weekend on the punt? Yeah. Maybe not in the
no good.
Yeah, in the pokies, the brickies laptops.
No, I was waiting to watch the Tim Zoo fight. It was advertised for 11 or whatever, so I went down, all chipper, ready to watch the fight, and it was held back a bit. There was other fights going on, so had a bit of a slap. Didn't go too good. But yeah, you get that in the big games.
You do get that in the big
games. At least
games.
my head wasn't cracked open trying to punch a bloke, 2 meters taller than me. But yeah, that was a tough fight. That poor Timmy. Shout out to him. His head was cracked open just from like a elbow early, and he just couldn't see, the poor bugger.
I was waiting for all the memes of like the photos of him with when your girlfriend's on her period or something like. Because like you know their memes.
No, I don't
know if you've seen them before. But yeah, speaking of the punt, if you're gonna have a punt, use Picklebet. Use the code Turbo when you're signing up. They're a good bookie. On the weekend, they had a good special multi going. Their odds, they compare themselves with the markets, and they try and just give you a bit of extra value in the positions that are very popular. So. Wingers, for instance, if you're getting like $1.60 for value somewhere, they'll try and bump it up to $1.80 for you. So make sure to check the markets, especially with the favourites. They like to take care of you there. But use the code Turbo when signing up for free and confidential support. Call gamblinghelponline.org.au or visit the website rather, or call 1-800-858-858. I hate these live ad reads. They're not very good. But moving on to team news. And I mean, I think we're at the point of the season where a lot of things, we're just checking for like one or two things here and there. Yeah. And I like this point of the season because I don't have any surprises.
Well, I think we need to stop for a moment and thank the SuperCoach gods for just pulling up on the carnage a little this week. Like, I mean, they took Galvin away and Maxi Plath, the 5'8" cheapies that some of us had either there, but pretty chill compared to last week.
I've got something to speak on there very soon. But Xavier Willison not named, so for any potential Sam Hughes people who wanted to get rid of him as enough, although Sam Hughes has been named to start this week.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a really nice little thing.
It's like the SuperCoach gods, we don't want carnage. There's a bit of carnage happening here, so we'll put out this fire for you.
And then you've also got, it's kind of like the front row's a bit crazy. Like then you've got Liam Henry in a later game who's now coming off the bench because Fish is starting. So, Fish being back from
is he back?
Yeah, Fish is
back. Fuck, I didn't realise that.
You're looking at me just saying, like, don't say
the
naughty word. I was like, am I saying something?
Holy fuck. Joe Chan is not named in the side. He's nowhere to be seen. So, this is not good news because he's a spot that I want to be making money. So, it's not ideal, and I feel like Sean Bloor can definitely take the spot and run with it. Drew Hutchinson named. We expected him not to get named potentially, but he is there. So cash generation for people. Massive news here. Josh Curran named at number 12. This
doesn't change anything.
It doesn't?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You spoke to Rob Sutherland before?
Well, it's not he's not making the decision. It's being left solely.
It's not his decision. I feel like he's been the biggest.
He's on holidays. He's not doing this one. He'll be involved in the next one. He's not coming in off holidays. The only reason he was in today is he was covering Sangster, who's also on holidays, but he was doing a solid because he could actually get there and Sangster couldn't. So that's what the boys do for each other,
You get that in big games.
Yep. So I think, he's played enough. Like, to play 3 games, consecutively in a row, showing that, you've come off, that you're playing in that position. He's been playing the prop role every single time. Every time Salmon comes off, he's not playing lock. It's McCurtman that goes there. So it's completely prop. And the only one time he's gone there is to cover an injury. So he's already covered that.
I agree, but I also disagree because
Because you don't own him.
Well, no, I didn't get him in based off that. Like, I didn't.
I bought him in based on the fact that
I know, and I think that was a good move. But with him, I just feel like players like Ryan Madison should get the jewel as well. I know Ryan Madison started lock on the weekend, but he comes on the field when Jermaine Hopgood's still on the field, and he stands in the position on the kickoff where Junior Paulo and RCG stand.
Look, I'm not sitting here campaigning against any others.
I'm not.
And I'm not. And anyone that's like, this guy should, this guy should, that's fine. They probably all should. I'm not addressing that. I'm not involved in decision making. I'm a current owner. I would like my guy to get it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
100% agree.
Yeah.
But I just think I would like the consistency with these other players who are in similar positions.
Either way, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to. I'll be happy with him.
To be fair, it doesn't affect me.
Happy
I
with
like
owners,
I like that he's starting this week for owners for sure. Angus Crichton gets the start, 409,000. What's going on? The second row roulette here. I don't think I could even consider any Roosters players. Any Roosters edges because they've just played roulette with their second rows. Trent Robertson must be a super coacher because he's playing the fullback roulette in the second row. Kai Pearce-Paul gets a start. Obviously, popular cheapie. Terrell May on the bench again. I don't think that affects his output. Tamari Martin gets named at 5'8" for the Warriors. We're expecting maybe a cheapie in Chanel Harris-Tavita, but I think this is probably good because we won't be tempted by him. Isaac Thompson is in for the Rabbitohs. Not much doing there for the Manly Sea Eagles and the Penrith Panthers. You said the Fish is back. Not good for Liam Henry. So
that's a mad headache for me, man, because
I don't love playing him this week.
I was relying on playing him. I've got the other bloke there, Hughes. Maybe I'm just worried he comes on, gets a starting role, but only has a 20-minute
I wouldn't
game.
consider playing Hughes,
It doesn't
to
look
be
like
honest.
they're trusting him for those bigger minutes. Even in the back end of like the last games, there was always other guys they could find to bring on that's had a bit of a rest and seemed like the coach trusted them a bit more to play those bigger minutes, and it's a bit annoying. But yeah, I've also got Lolo there, so it's a real headache.
I think you got to play Lolo.
I don't think I can, to be fair, against the Titans. I don't think he's going to play more than 20 minutes.
You're right.
Played big minutes last week.
He got his 41 last week, so he's going to get his 12
no way he's
this
playing
week.
more than 20, yeah.
Solomoni Fatape as a cheapie made 12K last week with a break-even of 10 this week. He looks set to potentially lose money, so that was a dud cheapie on my behalf. Harley Smith-Shields.
You can be patient with him, eh?
Yeah. Harley Smith-Shields is named on the wing, a cheapie to look out for. There's also another cheapie where I had him earmarked. James Schiller plays his second game this week. He looked phenomenal on the weekend. Scored 80 points.
Yeah, he scored 2 tries.
But I'm not
taking that away from him because I think that,
I think he's got it in him.
Finisher, yeah. I really like him. There's something about him as just the way, I think it might be his physical image and his face reminds me of Kenny Dow. I think I've mentioned that before. But, he's very cheap.
Yeah, 77 yesterday, so we get another look at him this week.
Is there anyone else that can... Like, I know Albert Hopperweight, he's probably been dropped, hasn't he?
Well, he burnt his hand in cooking, right. So I don't know if he's back, but...
That's stressful.
In my opinion...
Is he look a bit better, you reckon?
I think Schiller looks way better. And, I think Savage has done well to keep his spot. There's...
But I guess it comes back down to job security and it's a little bit nerve-wracking. If Blaze Talangi wasn't available, you'd probably be a lot more appealing. But
but Schiller's only played one game, so we get another look at him this week.
Good.
And then next week, we can wait and see. See how he scores this week against Parramatta.
Nice.
And, someone like Ethan Strange I'm actually considering playing this week. I like the look of Strange and against understrength Parramatta.
There's a very good chance that my starting halves this week will be Ethan Strange and Drew Hutchinson.
Oh, my God. Oh, I guess we'll get to captain soon because if you don't have strength in them positions, you're definitely going a fullback or a centre wing potentially. Morgan Smithies named to 13 still. Corey Horsburgh on the bench. What's doing with Morgan Smithies? He's obviously not losing any cash. I think I'm going to have to play him this week potentially just for a bit of security, but I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like he could be a sell soon. His BE is around that point where, he probably could make a little bit more. I don't think he's going to sit around that point, I think, though. I've got Turbo there as Burbo as a potential sell, Piakura, who I've been holding on to, not intentionally, just because I've had other things to do. But I'm starting to think maybe Smithies could be more of a sell than like Piakura. Just wait for Piakura.
I think so. If you can cover it this week for sure with Hines out on the bye. I like it. All right, let's move on to our next segment, which bold predictions, where I think even before the drama happened.
Well, on the drive in on round one, he's like, should we do bold prediction? I'm like, I hate this segment. I just don't like it.
Yeah, we've always struggled with it. We're always kind of thinking of it on the spot. I think this is a much better kind of way to do it. So what we're going to do every week is we're choosing 4 players. I'm picking a line, and all of us are going to choose over or under. And if you want to say a bold prediction, you can have one, but you've got to be confident about it. So it has to be bold. So it has to be like, like if it's this week, Scott Drinkwater 130 plus.
No, I thought we just found a solution to like. And I was like, if you want a bold prediction, we're still going to come back to,
yeah,
bro, that's not bold.
No, but it's got to be bold. It's got to be bold. And if anyone says it's not bold,
yeah, it's not bold.
That's not being reasonable, then you don't get to have it. But the thing is, if you get it wrong, it means you've had more chances at guessing,
so you
and
lose
less.
A point or something?
Well, at the end of the year, it'll be a percentage. So your percentage will be lower if you get it wrong. So it's got to be something you got to be confident about. So Scott Drinkwater is my first one. Over or under 95?
Over.
I'm going over too. Kalen Ponga, over or under 90 against St. George?
Over.
I'm going over as well. Valentine Holmes, over or under 90?
Valentine Holmes. Oh, I feel like it might be tough to get both of Drinky and Val. I think one of them will fall, but I think there's going to be a lot of big scores in here, so I'm pretty confident that, yeah, this is a ton game for Val Holmes. It's the Titans, yeah.
I'll go over. And Blaze Talangi, the most traded in player this week, 45.
Oh, really? That's all? Okay. That's. I'll go over there too, I think. I'm not super confident in that, but
I'll go under. And I like how we've got
just
something.
because he's got a running game. If he didn't have a running game and there was more dishing off, he's more of a 30 half back. But I think he's I'll take over.
I'll go under. And I like how we have a difference because that nearly became a bed shit of a segment because if we're all just doing the same every week.
We've got 2 other blokes that are.
I think this week is the players I've chose have pretty high upside. So I think it's fair for us to all go the same. I think there'll be other weeks where it's different. So this week is...
Or do you know what we could also do? Just had this idea on the rung. Say that we're like, we will both go over, and like even just with me and you, we could have it like this. So, for example, it was Drinkwater. You're like, what was the number? 95?
Yeah.
We're both like 95. And then we both got to up it. Who's prepared to fall off on, like, I'll go, I still think you do 100. And you'll be like, yeah, you can do 100.
I like it.
And then
I'll
go 105, and you'll be like, I'll back off on that. So I'm going to go under, you'll go under 105.
Okay.
So it's like one.
Drinkwater 105.
Where we find the tipping point.
Drinkwater 105.
Could be called the tipping point.
The tipping point. Ooh.
Yeah, the tipping point.
And we're tipping.
Yeah, so we're both sort of, I like that. It's almost better than over and under, which is a bit more vanilla. The tipping point actually encourages that one of us has got to jump, or we can keep going till like we're at 150. Eventually one of us is going to have to go, well, let's be a bit realistic here. That's a good segment. I like that. I like tipping point.
We'll do it next week because we don't have much time, to be honest. Captains, I'm going Drinkwater.
Actually, I haven't even thought about it. I think
it's Drinkwater or Holmes for me.
My first thought was Kalen Ponga, but
I like it.
I haven't actually.
You know what put me off?
No, it's not going to be. It'll probably be Val Holmes as my captain, because I don't own Drinkwater, and my vice captain will be either Dom Young or Kalen Ponga. Probably go Ponga just for safety, but a part of me wants to be a little bit cheeky and go Dom Young.
With captains this week, I'll put off Kalen Ponga just a little bit, just because
Dragons are a little
8 p.m. Friday. I don't like that time slot for a captain.
Pong Dong seems like a day guy.
He could do it any time though. So that's just one small red flag. And lockout is in 2 days, 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 22 seconds. That is crazy.
All the twos.
No, it's not anymore. But anyway, trades. Finalising trades.
It's probably going to be pretty simple and vanilla. I hope I can just stick to this, and I think I will. It'll be the trade ins. I'm not sure who's going out yet for me, but it'll be bringing in KPP and bringing in Blaze DeLungy. There's a lot of different ways I can do that involving selling Brooksy and moving 100 things around. Or I could sell, Pia Kura. I may look at even, May was my first obvious option just because it's centre for centre in one position, but I don't think I want to sell him. I think I'd rather get good at Brooksy just with a draw.
My trades, I'm going Pia Kura to Blaze Talangi via Ben Trebojevic. I'm holding on Ben Trebojevic another week to see how I go.
Can I say before you say anything else about him, I've got a feeling he's that guy that there's more out of you. You need to be patient with.
I think so too.
He's annoying, but
he's had no attacking stats in 3 weeks, so I think be patient with him. He's playing 50 minutes.
Schuster was playing lock in New South Wales Cup and didn't have a good game, so I don't think there's any rush.
I'm not worried about that. 50 minutes on the weekend. He's looking good when he's on the field. It's just Corey Waddell's playing so well
taking
off the
like
bench.
35 off him,
Other trade, thanks for derailing me. And I'm going Turbo to Drinky. And I'm also doing Tuapiki to Joey Manu.
Nice.
I really wanted Dallin Watene-Zelezniak this week. I think with Chan's back, Dallin's going to have a field day, especially running at Isaac Thompson. I can't quite get there.
Price-wise or in your mind?
Price-wise. So I have 20K in the bank and Manu's 647. I think just with the Roosters playing the Bulldogs this week, I just want a piece of something in case they do go off. Joey Manu's always a good buy round specialist, so I think he'll be a nice...
Potentially a season-long hold, yeah.
Exactly. So that makes my centre wing Holmes, Manu, Tuivasa-Sheck and Taylor May. I'd love to have Lomax and Watene-Zelezniak in there, though. So that's where I'm going this week. And that's it for the show, guys. So cheers for tuning in on this week's episode.
Good luck.
That's all I have to say. Questions and Answers podcast is out on YouTube on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So our NRL show on the Burst will be out 5 p.m. On YouTube, the question and answers will be out 8 p.m. And then it'll be uploaded on the audio platform Thursday morning at 11 a.m. So I know there's a bit of a difference there. So if you want to head over and watch it early, watch it on YouTube at 8 p.m. the night before. The only reason we're doing that is so we're not like flooding the audio platform feeds, and I think with YouTube and live viewers, it's just better to do it all in one night rather than just post it during the day when no one can watch. So that's why we're doing it that way. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Good luck with your SuperCoach.